And welcome to Outside of Reviews. My name is Pat, and I'm a military guy, not tolerant car reviewer up here in Canada. And this week we've got the 2025 Chevrolet Blazer EV, and we're actually gonna get right into it. First and foremost, before we go on, I do invite you to subscribe to the channel because it definitely helps out and definitely helps produce more videos like this one. Now, as you can see, we have the Chevy Blazer EV RS with the RS badging. We got a nice light bar in the front. I definitely like the front fascia. I think they did a very good job. Now, if you want to know right away, underneath there is no front trunk. So there's that right away. And let's get right into the spec. This being the all-wheel drive, it'll give you about 283 miles of range or 455 kilometers. And it will register 0 to 60 time in 6 seconds. Produces about, so the previous model was 300 horsepower and 333 pounds-feet of torque via a 85 kilowatt battery. Now the official specs for the 25s are not quite out. So if you want to go for torque, the front motor produces 225 pounds of torque and the rear motor will produce 121 pounds-feet of torque. In horsepower, the front motor will produce 241 horsepower and the rear motor 90 horsepower. Now you can obviously change this vehicle and get yourself a rear wheel drive with the powerful motor. So you have definitely a lot of configuration when it comes to the Blazer EV. You have front wheel drive, all wheel drive, and rear wheel drive. And the rear wheel drive will actually give you the best amount of range, and that's definitely well above 300 miles of range, which is pretty good. But since we have the all-wheel drive RS over here, that's where basically I'm going to be able to focus at, because I can't review the SS, which is like the 600 plus horsepower version of this vehicle. Definitely sounds like a lot of fun. I hope I get this. Now, one thing that I do not like about this vehicle right off the bat is the wheels, the big 21-inch wheels. I prefer a smaller diameter wheel with a more rubber, especially for this time of the year, the winter time, and all the potholes we're going to hit. But it does give it a certain allure to it. I understand that. Moving on to the side, we have the charging port. So we're going to go on to probably another one of my gripes. The charging port is motorized. Not a big fan of that at all. I think that they were on the Prologue, which is shared the same platform of this, they went with just a simple push cap, and that's probably the way to go. I'm not sure about the longevity of this motor, but this vehicle is capable of charging 190 kilowatts per hour speed, which is okay. It shares about the same speed as the, for example, Volkswagen 94, but it's subpar when you compare it to the Korean twins, which can go up to 250 kilowatt, or the Chevrolet Silverado EV, which has 350 kilowatt charging speed. Now, continue on to the side, we have 360-degree camera around this vehicle, which is definitely appreciated because this is a wide stance kind of vehicle. And you do have approach and departure, lock and unlock on both handles. Now, as we look at the back end, you can actually see how wide those tires are. They're pretty wide, 275, 45 R21s. So they're pretty wide, and they give you that nice wide stance at the back here. So when you look at the badging, you got your RS badging, you got all-wheel drive that's blacked out. Can barely see it on this black vehicle. And you do have LED lighting as well as the Blazer symbol there. Once you go inside, you're looking at 25.5 cubic feet of space with the seats up. And if you were to drop the seats, 59 cubic feet of space, which is probably one of the big reasons why you would opt for this vehicle as opposed to a smaller vehicle like the Equinox, is the overall space, not just for cargo space, but also interior space. And that's why I'm going to go inside now and show you how much legroom you got. Okay, now here's one thing that's absolutely amazing about EVs is because the flat room, so you don't have that hump pressing your leg a little bit on the inside. You can really spread out as a wide guy like myself would like to do. I got 39.4 inches of legroom. Now this front seat is at my driving position. I'm 5'9", but I actually drive like further back. I have my seat further back so I can extend my leg and just work my ankles because I have knee problems. So this is like a 6'4" driving position, really. And being 5'9", plenty of headroom. But you can see that the floor is slightly raised, so or either that or the seat is slightly lowered. So either way, I have ample leg room and headroom, but I can stretch out my legs, which makes it kind of comfortable. The fact that the floor is a little bit higher, you got that big battery below there to, taking up some space. But overall, I am very comfortable. But if you're a fairly tall person, having your legs up a little bit more might affect your comfort position. Definitely try it out and sit. Overall, material choice is very good between leather and suede, and I do have outboard heated seats. I do have ventilation. I do have tri-zone. I have a USB-C connection as well, and cup holders, 2 cup holders, good sized cup holders. Now the seats do not recline, so they're fixed position seats. Overall, you can be pretty comfortable. Just be aware that the floor may feel a little bit higher or the seat might be a little lower. I don't know which one which. And here I am inside the Blazer EV as I'm greeted by these typical GM chimes that we learn to love. Right away, you gotta start with, this has got some premium stitching right here on the door. It's got some nice material, and overall, I do like the appeal of it. It's very similar to obviously the Equinox EV. They all share the same big 2 times screen, so the 17-inch screen and the driver information cluster right here, which is going to be the centerpiece and of your attention once you get in. But not to be outdone with these nice circular red accented vents, which also have ambiance lighting around it. Now the ambiance lighting is kind of minimal in this vehicle. I would also probably go on to mention that, is it really worth mentioning? Because it's really just around here where you have the circular vent. So I think it's not really worth. The Equinox EV has a better ambience lighting, in my personal opinion. I have a heads-up display, really nice clear screen. I have the digital gate cluster, which is customizable. You can customize what information you want on there, and you have different screens such as the the map screen and driver ADAS assist and all that stuff. Steering wheel, nicely feel. I got a nice leather wrap steering wheel with some stitching here underneath. Feels pretty good to the touch. Got some buttons. I do have some poverty buttons right here, and that's because I do not have Super Cruise on this vehicle. It's a bummer. I'd actually love Super Cruise. I'd love to try it out in our Canadian winter, see how it works. I'm sure I will get the opportunity in the next few months. We got windshield wiper socks, so we do have automatic windshield wipers, and I have my shifter right here, so pull towards you, down to drive, pull towards you for neutral, pull towards you and up for reverse, and press for park. Nothing too special about that. I do have a heated steering wheel, and overall I like the space of it because this is a fairly wide vehicle and I'm a fairly wide guy. I have a lot of space. Infotainment system. Now, you do like the fact that right away you Google built-in maps, so it does have Google built-in maps, which means it does not have wireless Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, something that a lot of people will miss. Personally, the Google Maps system for an EV is one of the best systems because it tells you a percentage of your routes. It also will tell you if a EV charger is available, and if it'll plot them automatically on your along your route. So it just makes it really simple for you to take long distance drives, and it'll tell you how much time you should approximately spend on each charger. Really handy. Overall, the overall response system is pretty good. I do notice a little bit of lag when I ask for certain information, like the vehicle information, all that stuff. But my only gripe is that I would like the physical button for the drive modes as it is on the screen here. Not too much of a bother because I can actually add it to a shortcut up top. Speaking of shortcuts, so you have 8 shortcuts that you can customize up top, and you have some more shortcuts that you cannot customize here, such as your one pedal drive. So one pedal drive, you can have it on, off, and then change the setting that you want, high or normal. I personally prefer normal. I would never go high, especially in the winter time. In the summertime, perfectly fine. Headlight change as well over here, and you can turn your vehicle off or leave it on. So you don't have a physical on-off button. Your butt is what activates the vehicle with along with the key sensing technology, but you can leave it on or physically turn it off as you would be, which is very handy for me when I want to take the drone footage of the vehicle with all the lights on. I just leave it on. Right below that, in the screen integrated, is the HVAC system. I have no problems working with this system. And then you have some physical buttons as well. We do have dual climate control here. We do not have tri-zone. Some more circular vents with some accent, and then lots of storage down here. Now they went with a different path compared to some of GM's vehicles, because they have the electronic column shifter here, will have a open space here either to put a purse and all that stuff. For the Blazer, they opted to just have a very deep storage bin here along with 2 USB-C ports. It depends what you like. I prefer the open spot down here because this just kind of acts as another center console. So this has a fairly deep center console. I don't feel the need for a second one, but that just becomes a personal preference at this point. Cup holders, they fit big gulps, so no issues there. And your wireless charger is here. That's fine with me as far as placement. I like it here, but there's not much of an issue. As far as touch and everything is nice nice colored stitching. We got the red and the blue, and we got some nice accent. We do have a glove box here. Overall seat comfort, we do have some kind of they're perforated seats, so they're heated and ventilated seat, and they're soft to the touch. It feels really good. It's kind of like a Swedish with some leather on the sides for the bolstering. I wouldn't say this is my most comfortable seat ever, but it does the job. It's okay. I would just rank it as okay. Some people are very finicky about GMCs. Some people love them, so it really becomes a preference at that point. You really got to sit in it. I do like the volume, but also I usually tend to control volume with the paddles in the back. So I do have a paddle here for changing on the fly for my one pedal drive, but I also have music selection and typical GM fashion, they do have the volume controls in the back, which I've learned to love as a newly GM owner. We got the rear view mirror that changes into the rear view camera in case you do load this big vehicle up to the brim and you can't see behind you. This comes very handy. One thing that's also handy is that if you go into reverse and you see the overhead view as well, so 360 camera view, very good. GM does this, one of the best. I like GM and Ford's camera angles and crisp quality of their screen. But you'll also notice that right now, I cleaned the vehicle, but if I was to activate my rear wiper fluid, it also washes out both cameras. So both cameras will get washed up, and that's really, really handy for our winter here where the rear view camera kind of becomes obsolete if you don't have that kind of system. And it's something that I haven't really seen mentioned in a lot of reviews, but I think that you guys really do need to know about this. Overall, with the Blazer, you can expect is, because it's a wide vehicle, a wide array of comfort and space. And but let's see if that affects its driving. Let's go on to the driving capability of this vehicle. All right, here we go. Okay, so the acceleration for the Blazer EV is very gradual when you compare it to other EVs, but it's still 0 to 60 time in 6 seconds. So there's no, you're not gonna miss out on acceleration. It's just not gonna feel a lot of G-force pushing you in the back seat. Obviously the SS Blazer is gonna be a completely different story, but we're not driving that today. Also, the gradual acceleration that Chevy has decided to do is obviously a conscious decision here. It just allows you to be a little bit more in control. It's obviously better for wintertime conditions, but you can change that with drive modes. And this being snowy condition now is somewhat dry roads, I am going to throw in sports mode. We'll see how much more juice we can get out of that, but essentially I'm still not going to feel a G-force kind of feeling. Let's just punch it. So yeah, in sports mode you feel a little bit more than you would if you were than you are in normal mode. But again, it's not the kick in the back that you get it from other EVs, such as the Mustang Mach-E, for example, or even the Volkswagen ID4. But that will help you preserve tires in the long run, right? Because it's easy to accelerate really fast with those, even in normal mode. So it helps you preserve tires, it helps you have better range. Speaking of the range, 283 miles and 455 kilometers. We're obviously talking about ideal conditions, not like today in negative 10 degrees Celsius. Now, what I've noticed, because I did do a little bit of a range test, I started off with 85% battery life, and it was similar conditions to this, so negative 10 Celsius, whatever it is in freedom degrees, and what I ended up getting from 85%, which is probably where you want to charge this vehicle. They don't advise you to charge it to 100% all the time. So daily use, 85% battery, state of battery, you're looking at about 260 kilometers of range at negative 10 degrees Celsius. You know, it's a very particular range test, but or reading that I'm giving you, but just to give you, my fellow Canadians and my fellow Northern inhabitants in the States, that's basically what you can look at for range. I've hinted obviously for the long drives how this integrated Google integrated system is going to assist you, and that's very good because also preconditions the battery, right? So 190 kilowatt charging speed, this being negative 10 degrees or being the winter time, and the fact that I have 180 kilowatt chargers around me, 150 kilowatt chargers. I haven't been able to test that fully. I've been able to get at least 105 kilowatt at negative 10 degrees Celsius, so I can tell you that much. But if you do get 190 kilowatts at charging speed, please comment below. I'd love to hear your input on that and what kind of chargers you were using and so forth. Okay, so for what it's like to just be driving on the road, is it's an EV, so the acceleration being gradual, I talked about that. The suspension is very well tuned. I'll give that to General Motors. This suspension is quite well tuned, especially for being a wide vehicle like that. I don't feel I'm driving as much of a boat in the typical sense that I would perhaps an internal combustion. I find that it does not have so much body roll. If I change course like this, I do have a little bit of body roll, but for a vehicle this size, it is quite nimble. I'm quite happy with it. Shock absorption, you know, as far as any kind of harshness or vibrations or anything, there's no harshness or vibration. It's tuned to be quite comfortable. However, those 21-inch wheels are not quite helping it, so you will feel the bumps, and that's when you're going to feel the weight of this vehicle being well over 6,000 pounds. It's a pretty heavy vehicle, and that's when you hit the bumps, you're going to feel it, and that, in part, that's because of 21-inch wheels. Personally, if I was to purchase this vehicle, I would offer maybe more of a 18-inch wheel in diameter and have more rubber. So basically your overall circumference doesn't change, so you don't have to change your speedo, or it doesn't affect your speedo or anything like that, and you just get a little bit more comfort, which is what I did with my personal EV. I went from 20-inch wheels to 17s, and it definitely makes a big difference. So that's up to you guys. I know the 21s look really sharp. Noise, as far as noise, this is not the most soundproof EV I've had. It's not the worst. It's right in the middle. It's a pretty quiet road, but you are gonna quiet ride in this vehicle, but you are gonna hear a little bit of road noise, and some EVs you won't hear almost any road noise. So this one's kind of right in the middle. So overall, driving this vehicle, the things I've gotten to learn for the week that I've spent with it is basically, this is a good vehicle. It's definitely built for comfort as far as like seating and space. You have a lot of space, you have a lot of leg room, and you know, you do have 59 cubic feet of cargo space, albeit I wouldn't say it's the best in the segment. it could be a little bit more. Just the floor is a little higher. It does not have a spare tire. But we're just gonna break it down to basically my pros and cons. Before I'm gonna do so though, do like and subscribe, because I have a 2025 Chevy Equinox EV, which I will be comparing exactly to this vehicle. So if you want to know exactly which one should you buy, definitely stay tuned, subscribe, watch that video, and you'll have a very good idea of exactly what differs the two. But let's start with my cons, as I usually like to give you guys the bad news right away. My cons has to do with the charging port right off the bat. There's no need for that. That's over-enduring. That's just a stupid move. I think that I would have hoped they would have rectified it and gone the same approach as the Prologue has in 2025. They did not. It's still, you know, motorized charging port, which the longevity of that motor is what scares me in that aspect. Haven't had any issues. I just don't see it lasting very long. That is by far my biggest con. Another con I'm going to give it to it is basically the acceleration. Yes, it is fast, and you know, it's gradual. I'd like to be sports mode. Just when I click that sports mode, just give me all the juice, let me feel that G-force, kick me in the back of the seat like the other EVs do, which is something that I quite enjoy doing with EVs. Sure, I'm ruining my tires. Sure, I might, you know, it's in slippery condition, not advised, but just give me that option. That's all I'm asking. Now for my pros, basically the ride comfort, how easy it is to drive this vehicle, whether if it's a long distance, because of the Google built-in integrated. I do not miss wireless Android Auto because of the built-in, and the maps come free for 8 years, so that system is free for 8 years. You don't have to pay for it. I personally would choose that you would never have to pay for it. Once you buy the vehicle and you pay that premium for the vehicle to have this feature, it should be yours, but that's a different discussion altogether. But it's so easy to take on long road trips using this system. It does everything for you, and it tells you when you should charge and all that stuff. It just makes having an EV effortless in that sense. Second pro, it has to do with the driving. The one pedal drive is perfectly tuned. I have other vehicles that I was shopping around when I was looking at buying an EV, and the fact that they didn't have one pedal drive, a full one pedal drive that comes to a complete stop, and that you can actually adjust how fast it comes to a stop. It's got these settings. It just makes it, I never touch the brakes, almost never touch brakes unless it's an emergency, but it just is very well tuned. So the one pedal drive is really well tuned, and that's got to be one of my, it's up there in pros. There's obviously a lot of advantages to this vehicle, and but those are the two that stand out for me. You might have different ones. Now definitely watch that comparison with the Equinox. I think it's going to be a good video altogether. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel in order to support this, and comment below what your pros and your cons are, what you think. If you don't like EV, if you like EVs. I really don't delete any comments unless they're really out there, but I've never deleted any comments on this channel, and I appreciate your support. So until the next one, we'll see you later.